On Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock on Zoom, we had the first meeting of the family friends volunteers, folks from our congregation and many more from the wider community who have signed up to get to know one of the 8 Afghan refugee families that we are helping to resettle here in Petaluma. And last month in January we did some orientation and training meetings with potential family friends, and then last month we matched them up with the Afghan families and said, all right, go, introduce yourselves, get to know them, visit them, invite them over to your house, whatever you wish to do to befriend them and see how you might help. So then, as I said, on Wednesday we gathered those folks together to see how it went or how it's going, and broke them up into small groups so they could share their stories about what they've experienced so far. And then we came back together and shared observations and questions that arose in those small groups. And as the meeting was nearing its conclusion, there were at least a couple of the folks who voiced their frustration over the fact that the meeting was coming to a close and that so much remained unresolved, that there were problems that they had become aware of that these families are facing that they didn't know how to address, and they were hoping that this meeting would somehow generate the solutions to those problems. A very understandable desire on their part. And it made me think back to a time a couple of months ago when I had been completely consumed with trying to help these families. Meg and I would wake up in the morning, and the first thing that we talked about every day was what we were going to do that day to, bring a dining table to one of the families, or move the rugs that had been delivered to our front porch to the storage area where they could then be delivered to the families, or things of that sort. And I was kind of spinning out. And it was very helpful to me to realize that the needs were so great and so varied that the only way that I was going to be able to get anywhere was to think strategically about what was the next most important thing to do, and to do that. And to accept that there were other things that were just going to have to wait. And though I was aware of the uncertainty and anxiety and even pain and suffering that was going on with those families, there was only so much that I could do to resolve that on that particular day. So I tried to share that perspective in the meeting with the family friends. And I began by giving the bigger picture of just what's going on with refugee resettlement in the United States right now, and how 4 years or so ago, all refugee resettlement in the United States was halted by executive order. And then when it resumed, it was at a historically low level. And so all the entities that do refugee resettlement in our country had to cut back on their staff and close offices and tighten their belts because they only get funding from the government relative to the numbers of refugees they're resettling. And that it was into this context that 75,000 Afghans arrived on the shores of our country in 3 weeks at the end of August. And so all the established refugee resettlement agencies are overwhelmed. And new solutions had to be made up on the fly in communities all over this country. So we're not alone here in trying to make up as we go along, flying by the seat of our pants, as the expression goes, a program for refugee resettlement, and do the best that we're able under those circumstances. And, I said, your willingness to jump in and do it under these circumstances, to do your best, and to help us, to help you to do that, even though we're completely in over our heads and just, struggling to keep up with the needs of the situation. That willingness to care and to befriend these people and to carry in your own awareness their struggle, even as you're unable to fix it for them, is bringing you face to face with some of the things that are most screwed up about this world. And to get in there and try to do something anyway, in spite of that. Well, it's kind of heroic. So our gospel story today is about Jesus in a similar kind of situation, you might say. On his way through Galilee, curing illness here, casting out demons there. He can't cure all the illness. He can't cast out all the demons. And yet he can summon people to awaken to the possibility that in God's time all illnesses will be healed. The demons will be defeated. And that the key to that day coming is for you and me to do something. To remain human. To keep caring. Particularly for those who others might say are beyond hope, beneath our concern, unworthy of our care, incapable of being healed. And that message in and of itself was enough to make some people angry at him, like Herod. Herod, the kind of petty ruler of Galilee, didn't like that message, and so threatened Jesus' life. And some Pharisees, for reasons known only to them, came to convey that message to Jesus. You know, Jesus, Herod wants you dead, so should probably get out of here. And Jesus' reply is, well, yes, I am getting out of here, but not because I'm afraid of Herod. I'm getting out of here because it's not enough for me to just cure illnesses here in Galilee, cast out a demon or two. I'm getting out of here because I'm on my way to Jerusalem. The way so many prophets have gone to Jerusalem to say that a God who does not care, who has no hope for the sick and the disenfranchised and the marginalized, for sinners and the outcast, a God who we imagine lives in this house that we've built for him, feasting on the sacrifices that we make to him, is really no God at all. I'm going there to Jerusalem, like so many before me have gone. And when I get there, the same fate is going to befall me as befell all of them. But I'm going anyway. Because I believe. I believe in the true God. The God that I'm showing you right now in my acts of compassion and mercy and healing. That's the God on whom I'm staking my life. Because I desire so much for that dream of God to come true. I desire so much to gather God's children together into one community. A community like that Abram saw when he went out of his tent into the desert night and looked up in the sky and saw the countless brilliant stars, each one unique in color and brilliance and magnitude. I dream of that one family of humankind gathered together under God's protecting, sheltering wings, like chicks in the bosom of a mother hen. And I want it so much that I'm going to carry that dream with me to Jerusalem. And I'm going to show it there